Welcome to the Guide to Wellness podcast. I'm Susanna, licensed acupuncturist. We're here to chat about health and well-being. Just a reminder, everything in this podcast is information only, not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. It's useful information to maintain a healthy life balance.
Hello everyone, I'm Dawn DeVaz, health coach at Great Turning Healing Center, and due to our busy schedule and thriving clinic, I am hosting today's episode for a Guide to Wellness. We're here with Jack Schwem, our acupuncturist, and my colleague here at Great Turning. I am so happy to introduce you to Jack. Today, in addition to having you meet him, we'll also be giving you some easy health tips from his training and experience in traditional Chinese medicine and the healing arts. In particular, we're talking about the spring season from a Chinese medicine perspective. Happy springtime, Jack.
Happy springtime, Don.
What do people need to know about making the most of their health in springtime?
I think to understand the advice Chinese medicine has for us for any season, we need to step back and look at some of the differences between ancient Chinese ethics and contemporary American ethics. In the spring and autumn annals, there is a parable of a strong man trying to lead an ox by the tail. The ox goes one way and he goes the other, and they exhaust themselves in the exact same spot they started. Then a young child comes along and gently leads the ox by the ring in its nose. Saying nothing to the sensitivity of noses and tails, the traditional explanation is that the child guided the ox in its natural direction, and the strong man was trying to make it move counter to its natural direction. This links to a lot of other Chinese thought ideas, but I think this is an easier one for Western minds to kind of relate to than Wei Wu Wei or some of the more esoteric Chinese metaphysics. American ethics goes more along the lines of, if you couldn't move the ox, work harder, work longer, hire someone to help you. And yeah, both move oxes, I suppose, but I prefer doing it the gentler way.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that what you're trying to teach with understanding how to work with spring is don't battle those natural kind of flows and tendencies that spring begins to offer in those subtle currents. Is that right?
Indeed. Like trees with their sap rising and bears coming out of hibernation, our bodies as well want to move in a certain pattern as the days get longer and the weather gets warmer. And Chinese medicine has guidelines for leading our bodies forward into each season, collaborating with the environment rather than just going about your day like it's the middle of winter or the middle of summer or any other time in the year, doing a day like it is the season that you're in. This is also not like a, go live in the mountains, go live in the woods proposition. The child leads the ox to its day job more effectively than the strong man, or at least so the story goes.
Yeah, so you're talking a lot about living in tune with the seasons, but that doesn't mean like going out and rewilding. While that can be great, you're talking about like using that in your everyday life. So that's a lot of the philosophy. You gave some great stories from Chinese medicine, kind of Chinese philosophy. What kind of advice can we pull from that in practicality that we would get from classical or traditional Chinese medicine?
So in the Nanjing, one of the oldest books, or one of the parts of the oldest book in the Chinese medical tradition, they give all sorts of recommendations for seasons, dietary recommendations, sleep, exercise, even recommendations on proper ways of thinking and behaving. The dietary recommendations state that in the springtime we should be eating less and there is debate on this, whether that is fasting as we would conceptualize it. I think given the data that we have about fasting in the modern era, I think it's a great time to start a restricted eating habit or get back to one if you've done it before.
Restricted sounds kind of scary. I'm going to say that. As about someone who loves to eat. That sounds scary.
Time restricted eating doesn't need to take over your life. In fact, it shouldn't. Not eating is bad for your health. Newsflash.
But in the long term, non-eating is bad for your health. You're talking about kind of using time restricted eating to actually benefit our bodies and metabolism and other parts of ourselves.
Indeed. There's great research on the metabolic benefits of spreading out your meals, even just fasting overnight, not eating in the middle of the night. But once you get to that kind of 16 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours, the benefit just is pretty impressive. But you don't want to do that. Well, you can do 16 hours every day. You can even do 20 hours every day. Any more than that, and you wouldn't be eating. So you have to spread those out over the course of a week or a month.
Right on. So, well, right now, we recently just got 3 feet of snow. So it doesn't seem like we're going to have all of these beautiful springtime plants coming up. And I personally, while I'm a gardener, I'm not a farmer. And I don't necessarily see what's available to me as this season is coming into its like burgeoning spring blossom. So what kind of foods can we go to the stores or to our lovely farmers to get that will actually support us in this season?
So, like you said, different climates have different seasonal foods. And this is, 2,500 years ago and in, coastal China. But their recommendations for springtime foods are eggs, sprouts, fresh greens, things that are mildly acrid, like onions, scallions, garlic, cilantro, ginger, things to help the body get moving as we start to shift from our hibernations. Sour things, pickled fermented foods, good vinegars. None of that is coming out of the ground right now. Or if it is, it's still buried in snow. Some of those sprouts will be just around the corner as greenhouses and then gardens will start to have those things really locally. But yeah, you can pick up any of those things in the grocery store. There are also admonitions against overcooking your food. So a nice light stir fry, and with minimal oils in the spring.
That's really interesting because a lot of those foods that you mentioned are things that really emulate spring and that rising energy and are also really stimulating and like waking and wakeful to the body. Like those kind of spicy garlic or the sour tart surprising like flavors of sauerkrauts or vinegars. And I can see actually the nutritional value of cooking your food really lightly, because when you're cooking your food lightly, you're preserving a lot of the nutrients in it so that you're getting your maximum value out of that food as well as getting those other benefits.
Yeah, traditional Chinese medical food doesn't very rarely recommends raw food. But most commonly it's either a light stir fry or boil till it's all one thing.
All right. Well, so what other areas of our life can we use and shift to support this like spring rising energy?
Sleep recommendations from the classics focus on waking in the spring. They seem a little less concerned with when you go to bed than in other seasons. In the fall and winter, they say go to bed early. In the summer, they say stay up as long as you like. Or the closest thing to that you get from people influenced by kind of Confucian correctness. where in the spring it really focuses on just rising early, and with that an exercise recommendation of light exercise in the morning. A translation of it is something like, upon waking, take a walk in the courtyard, loosen the hair and relax the body, thus focusing the will on life. You have to remember that this is written for literate people 2,500 years ago, so people with courtyards.
Right on. Well, that sounds like actually a really nice way to wake up and start your day. Even if right now it's a little cold, you could do a little like lap around your kitchen or something like that.
Or qigong, tai chi, yoga, something to get the body moving early in the morning. Patting yourself all over is a great springtime morning qigong. Just wake up your body like you did in summer camp back in the day.
That sounds lovely.
The mindset recommendations from the classics on the spring is to restrain your anger, refrain from punishment, and reward good behavior. In contemporary culture and contemporary Chinese medical practitioners focusing on the things you want to grow, planting the mental seeds that you want to cultivate for the year, because this is the time when things go from seed to more than seed.
I love that. So I know that from my experience working and living with you, you talk about the liver being associated with spring. I know you have talked about your personal experience of feeling those changes with how your liver is acting on the body from a Chinese medicine perspective. What does all of what you talked about have to do with the liver?
So Chinese medicine is full of correspondences: cosmological, emotional, taste, direction, seasons, organs. The liver is the Chinese medicine organ associated with the wood phase in Wuxing. The wood phase is related to spring and daybreak, rising motion, graceful motion, anger and self-expression, sour as a taste, green as a color. Some of the advice from above makes perfect sense. Eating sour foods, because sour is the taste. Gentle motion are more or less right there in the correspondence list. But some of them, like mildly acrid food, avoiding anger, seem less related or counter to the correspondence. If anger is the emotion associated with the liver, restraining anger in the springtime might seem counterintuitive. But that's because the diseases or the patterns of illness associated with the liver in Chinese medicine are liver qi stagnation and liver blood deficiency. There are other ones, but those are kind of the big categories. These don't correspond perfectly with biomedical liver diseases, but they do have some similarities and crossover. And often you see them come up together for one reason or another. And especially when it comes to liver qi stagnation and the problems of the liver dealing with the toxic load from our diet and our environment. Much of what the classics recommend for the liver and springtime is helpful in dealing with environmental and dietary toxic load, as verified by contemporary research. Regular movement, eating fresh local food is, obvious for those things. As a prime example, asparagus, which is an upward pointing leafy green vegetable, is good liver food in TCM, and it is rich in antioxidants, fiber, and vitamins to help the liver in a biomed direction. Same with fermented foods. They're sour, so they're liver food, and they tend to be probiotic, antioxidant, help resist arteriosclerosis, reduce instances of diabetes, which are all intimately related to Western models of how the liver works and how the liver detoxes our body.
All right. So that was a lot of information, but really informative. And I actually, thinking about asparagus, I was kind of imagining eating it. I know I have some in my fridge right now. And asparagus also has kind of a sour flavored profile to it. Like, and especially if you cook it with a little lemon, salt, pepper, a little olive oil, and roast it up, you get that kind of bright tartness that is also kind of in line with your rising energy, springtime green qualities.
For sure. Like. Throw some fennel and onions in there.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. We've got a recipe. All right. Well, thank you, Jack, for integrating East and West as it relates to health and the liver, because I personally am not always familiar with that, and I know a lot of our audience might not be either. And so with this in mind, we have an invitation. I am working in conjunction with Susanna and Jack to put on a detoxification program at our clinic called Spring Up. It is our seasonal renewal program for 2023, and the registration date end, I believe, is April 15th. And the program is a 6-week program where you will learn the ins and outs of digestion and detoxification, the first of the 5 pillars of health that we operate from in the clinic. And with that, Susanna will be teaching a lot of the biomedical side, that where you have that East meets West. So more of what you were talking about with a heavier Western bent, I think. And then I will also be working with the group that signs up to do regular health coaching through the process of a supplemental program where you will be doing some manner of detoxification, supported by the education that we provide about foods, a lot of what we talked about today, as well as the supplements that are going to support you on those deeper levels. And with the health coaching, you'll receive additional education. And the idea is that this program is a blended model of live and digital media. So you'll be receiving videos. You'll get to go to live seminars with Susanna. You'll do live health coaching with me, and you'll receive videos for some background information prior to those meetings, as well as additional education, research, book recommendations, all around that. So it's a really in-depth program, and it is also going to be customized. So you might be working with us, and then you will show us your labs. We will work with you to identify the best program for you, and then we will swing into that full course, which is really exciting. And it's a huge value. It's, I think, worth like $2,300, and our current pricing is $789. So it's a really great deal, and we're really excited because spring is the time for that seasonal renewal, detox, reset, and it's something we try to do at the clinic, and we really like sharing that with our community. And this is how we're bringing all of the education that we have to the people that we love to work with.
That sounds excellent. I look forward to seeing that come together.
Yeah, I'm excited because Jack will be leading some of the Qigong for that course, so you'll get some movement practices as well.
Indeed. And we'll talk a little bit more about the liver and gallbladder from the TCM perspective.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Jack, thanks for talking with me. I'm really excited about spring and renewal and everything that I just learned. And if you want to listen to any more of our podcasts, you can check us out on Guide to Wellness Podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also learn more about Spring Up through our blog on greatturninghealing.com, or we are launching our landing page for that program to register through Thinkific, which will be in the show notes. And you can always give us a call at the clinic at 406-599-0088.
And remember to take some morning walks in the spring.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.